rejected by Stanford. And Ken Neighbor will try to make it a 7-0 Stanford lead. And does so.
I'll tell you, I still got the goosebumps. This is great.
A 61-yard drive in just 3 plays as you take a look at it again.
Here, all you see is a straight drop back. John Elway stepping back 7 yards, planting, firing a strike, a beautiful post pattern to Kenny Margarine.
The other thing was he gave him a nice outside fake to the linebacker. That freed him for just a second to run the post pattern.
I tell you, defensive backs on the Oklahoma team are talking to themselves, I can tell you that.
13:03 to go in the first half, and Stanford has taken the lead 7-0. 32 now gives it to the first man. That's number 32, Stanley Wilson. And Wilson again just going over the left side behind blocks by Ed Culver and Terry Crouch, but only picks up a couple. Let's give him a credit of 4. Craig Zelmer made the stop. Ed Culver is playing left tackle in place of Lewis Obry, who is out with a twisted ankle. Again, it's Wilson. Oh, no, it's not. It's number 40, Chet Walker, and Stanford has recovered the ball. The Cardinals have recovered another Oklahoma fumble. They just literally stripped Walker of the ball. Excuse me, Winters of the ball. Chet Winters was the man who ended up with the ball. It looked like Stanley Wilson had it, but he made a nice fake, and then Chet Winters had the ball but was stripped of it. So Stanford beginning play now at the 44 from the shotgun under the blitz, throws it across the middle. It's completed to Chris Dressel, and Dressel is down at the 32.
What an outstanding play John Elway made on that. The linebackers came, there was nobody covering the middle.
The initial reports are that Mike Taylor recovered the fumble for the Cardinals. Stanford moving quickly now down to the 31-yard line. Good enough for the first down. 1st and 10 Cardinals, leading already 7-0. 12 minutes to go in the first half. Rolling to the right is Elway. Under pressure. Get rid of it. John decides not to and is pulled down at the 40. I think he's going to have to start dumping that ball off if he's going to pick up a loss of some type, Don.
I think you're right, Ron. That time, Oklahoma changed its philosophy a little bit. They started to come with the linebackers, and I think that's what they think they can do to put pressure on Elway.
Mike Coase was the man who finally got to Elway and brought him down. Coase, the weak side linebacker, had 12 tackles against Kentucky 2 weeks ago in the opening win for the Sooners. The ball at the 40-yard line of Oklahoma. 2nd and 19. Elway with the fake to Vincent White. Under pressure again. Rolling, throwing now. And it's complete to Chris Dressel. Had to wait for just a moment because he was covered by an Oklahoma player. Number 27, Byron Paul, the right corner.
I don't know if our fans appreciate how hard it is to roll to the left like this and come back and throw a ball like that. You're throwing across your body, and your momentum forces you to throw the ball wide. And I tell you, that's a hard ball to complete.
And more credit to John Elway. Not only was he rolling to the left, but he's throwing a wet ball, and he threw it with great authority, as you see him throw off a towel here and put a dry one on. 3rd down and 5. Elway looking, under pressure, throws. Scott Andre
All right.
is down inside the 5 to the 3.
Woo!
Andre Tyler was one-on-one with Byron Paul, and it was a mismatch as Tyler made a great move on Paul.
Well, I tell you, Ron, when it rains, it pours. Everything is clicking for Stanford. Right now, they can do anything they want. They're moving the ball so effectively and mixing up the plays.
Well, mixing up the passes anyway.
You know what I mean.
Okay, it's 1st and goal to go. Stanford at the 1-yard line. Jeff Hale is in now at fullback. Fumble. And I think Oklahoma might have come up with it. Let's see. Possibly Elway got to it. It looked like Elway was stepping back and just stepped back too quickly. Boy, it would be a shame to lose the ball here. No, the signal is Stanford ball. But just for a moment, Elway had lost track of the ball. Watch here. You can see he starts back, and it hit the tip of his fingers, and you can see the ball is thrown away, and then Elway dives forward.
That might have been John McCauley's fault on that. I think that was just a bad snap.
So it's going to be a loss of a half a yard, puts it inside the 2-yard line. Still second and goal for Stanford. Cardinals leading 7-0 already, trying to make it a 14-0 advantage. As the cry from 75,000 goes up for defense, defense. Jim Brown trying to get to the outside, slips down. I'll tell you, the Cardinals have got to get in here with a touchdown. Boy, it would be a shame to waste that, but as you said, they have the momentum, and they are moving with the ball. Brown that time had trouble getting to the outside. Mike Coase made the stop, but I'll tell you what, Oklahoma is just awesome up front. 255, 225, 250. Pickup of back to the original line of scrimmage. We got a timeout down on the field now as Stanford begins to talk things over and see what they'll do. 9:30 to go in the first half. Stanford 7, Oklahoma nothing. So after having 2 fullbacks in on second and goal to go, Stanford has replaced them with 2 faster backs in Greg Hooper and Vincent White, and the crowd again starts to become noisy. Bootleg, touchdown Stanford. And Elway slides into the end zone and out of it. Great play. That was the play they had to have. Send the flow to the left and bootleg to the right.
You know, Ron, sometimes you run that play and you don't tell anybody. And I wonder if John did just that. You get everybody going to the left side and you take it over yourself.
No, that was intended to be, because if that had been the case, I think the running back would have turned around and said, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have that thing.
Well, I've done it before and I know it works.
Yeah, but don't forget, you're retired. Okay, 9:25 to go. It's 13-0. Ken Neighbor tries to make it 14, and he does. So
right.
The Cardinals have jumped on top 14-0 with 9:25 to go in the first half. Began their third scoring drive. Vincent White replaces Dodderer.
Oh,
nice catch by Vincent White. White gets to the outside, gives an inside move, and gets up to the 47. What a great move by Vincent White that time.
Ron, I believe Vincent White caught this with one hand. John throwing kind of a wet ball. Look at that, left-handed, one-handed catch.
Vincent White was saying last week after the Boston College game that he'd like to see more action. Well, his wish was Paul Wiggins' command, and he's seeing a lot of action today. First down for the Cardinals at their own 48-yard line. Elway with lots of time. Throws it. He's got his man. That's Dodderer. Dodderer at the 40 and down to the Oklahoma 35. So Stanford again moving the ball with authority here. 4 minutes, 57 seconds to go in the first half. It's already 14-0 Cardinals. And the Sooner fans are just in shock here. However, with a team that's ranked 3rd in the country, that shock can wear off quite quickly.
We're looking at Stanford's 2nd and 3rd string backs. I tell you, they're doing a great job. I don't think I've seen Darren in yet.
Darren has not played today. This is Vincent White, and we're going to have a penalty flag down, and more than likely it's going to go against Stanford. Possibly motion, maybe holding. It looked like Vinny White was trying to get an extra step, and as he did so, he just left a little bit before the snap. So that'll walk the ball back 5 yards if Oklahoma decides to take it. The Sooners ranked number 3 in the country. In 1978, when they took on the Cardinals, they held Darren Nelson to just 29 yards and 10 carries. But Nelson did pick up 58 yards on 7 passes, and Kenny Marjoram had a big day that time against the Sooners, picking up 74 yards on 6 pass receptions. Elway now 15 for 23, 187 yards, and the Sooners decide to take the play, and it makes it 2nd and 9. A little bit surprised about that. I thought they'd take the penalty and push him back further, but if they can't stop a 9-yard pass, they probably couldn't stop a 15-yard pass either. 2nd and really 9 to go for the first down. With plenty of time now. Rolling up the middle, and it's wide open. He's up to the 25, down to the 20, and inside the 20, down to the 16. John Elway saw that it was wide open. He had sent his receivers down on wide patterns, on fly patterns down the sidelines, and he took the middle lane.
Here you see John dropping back. I wish you could see how wide open. There's 30 yards, but with nobody around.
After the timeout, John Elway brings the ball club up to the line. 1st and 10 at the Oklahoma 16. In the eye, the ball faked to Brown and given off to number 24, Mike Dotterer. Another one of those strange Stanford plays in the sense that we haven't seen too many runs, as John Elway has been passing an awful lot. We have an injured Stanford player. It's number 6'2", Chris Rose. Rose, the right guard, and that would hurt. Sophomore, as you see, from Little Silver, New Jersey. Boy, the last thing that Stanford needs is another injury, but he doesn't appear to be in too bad a shape. Coming off the field under his own power. He might have gotten a finger in his eye, Don. It looks like somebody might have stuck him.
I think that very well could be.
Any more injuries, and Bunce will go back and use up his one remaining year of eligibility.
Not at guard, I'll tell you.
Inside the 4-minute mark now as Stanford 2nd and 10 at the 16. Elway, good block thrown by Dotterer. The pass was intended for Jim Clymer. 2 men were there, and it was a poorly thrown pass as Elway was rolling out to his right, got a little bit of pressure, and threw up really a dead duck.
John had a chance to complete this pass if he had thrown it right there. You don't see the Gressel open, but he was open early.
Jim Clymer, the man that the ball was intended for, Basil Banks, and Steve Horth were the men that were covering. So it's going to be 3rd and still 10 at the 16. This is Vincent White. White spinning up the middle, finding very little room. At that time, I think the decision was just put it in the middle of the field. Let's bring Ken Neighbor on, and let's see if he can kick a field goal. Ken Neighbor will now come on. He's already tried one today, but has missed it. A 44-yard attempt. Neighbor will be at the left hash mark. It'll be spotted at the 18, which will make it a 28-yard attempt. And Kenny, if you ever wanted to make one, now is the time. He is 4 of 10. It's good.
All right.
It's good. A 28-yard field goal from Ken Neighbor, and Stanford is up their lead to 17-0 with 2:46 to go in the first half. The first half ended with Stanford leading 17-0. We'll be back with second half action in just a moment. Into the end zone. Stanford begins play now at their own 20, and we'll set it for you. John Elway is the quarterback. Jim Brown is the fullback, and the other running back is Vincent White, number 22. Elway will pass the first time in the second half. He has his man. He's wide open, but it's caught on the bounce, I believe, by Ken Marjoram. It took a bounce and right into Marjoram's hand, and it goes incomplete. White comes out, Mike Dotterer comes in, and that's just the way they worked him in the first half. Dotterer and White alternating, bringing in the plays to John Elway. In the first half, Elway was 14 of 25 for 187 yards. This is Mike Dotterer. Dotterer to the outside, across the 20, across the 30, still on his feet, up to the 40, cutting back now, trying to stay on his feet, and falls down at midfield. Mike saw that the flow was going toward the sideline and decided to cut back. And Mike Dotterer, who has seen little action in the first 3 games, is really opening it up today, Don.
That time, Ron, the linebacker blitzed. It forced the corners to go man. And that time, Mike Dotterer got to the outside and made an excellent run on that play.
Dotterer in the first half, 7 carries for 39 yards. Now 8 carries for 69 yards. This is Elway under a little bit of pressure, steps up into the pocket, now decides to run down to the 40, down to the 35, and slides down to the 37-yard line of Oklahoma. Now, this is an element, Don, of the Stanford offense, which is just giving Oklahoma fits. They can defense a pass, but when you have the running quarterback, that makes it even more difficult.
There's no question about it. The defensive backs for Oklahoma are doing a relatively good job. And I'll tell you, with Elway's running ability today, he's putting so much pressure on them that they don't know whether they're coming or going.
Only a minute gone in the third quarter, and Stanford is moving down to the 33, 1st and 10, the 33 of Oklahoma. Elway gives the ball off to White. White to the outside, has lots of room, looking for a block, and gets down to the Oklahoma 25-yard line. Elway looking for a dry towel. John Elway running with the ball, and he looks an awful lot like Don Bunce. The only difference is Bunce used to run for his life. Elway does it on purpose.
Gee, thanks a lot.
The other thing is that John slides down, and you used to trip. Anyway you look at it, Stanford is having fun. They're at the 25 of Oklahoma. They need just 2 to pick up the first down. From the shotgun, high snap. And it's Dodder. It was a high snap that Elway had to pull down, and he handed it off to Dodder again on that inside handoff. It was a sweep to the left side.
You know, I don't know what you tell a defensive unit like Oklahoma at halftime. Stanford's doing so many things well that you take away the run, and they're still throwing the ball well. You take away the short out, and they can run on you. So
Weddington and Breathitt were the men that made the stop on Dodder. Vincent White now back in along with Jim Brown. They are the split backs behind Elway. Elway on the bootleg. Elway has room at the 20, trying to get out of bounds, and does so at the 11. Another great play call by Stanford under the situation. All they needed was 3 yards, and they picked up more than that as they moved down to the Oklahoma 11. Beautifully executed.
This is one of the most fun plays a quarterback can run. Or, you know, he calls his own number. He knows he's going to get a chance to run the ball. And if he gives a good fake, you got the whole defense going to the other side. And it's just exciting to be out there and possibly score.
What goes through your mind when the guy comes in and you hear that play called and you know it's yours? Elway now 15 carries, 84 yards. This is Dodder with a penalty flag down. May be all against Stanford for movement, illegal procedure. They spotted the ball inside the 10-yard line, so it was a 1st and goal situation. But they're going to have to walk this one off 5 yards against the Cardinals. Watch it again.
This is just a wide power sweep to Dodder.
And the call is illegal procedure by Dan Foley. The last time Oklahoma had one of these situations, they rejected it, and surprisingly so. And now they're talking to Oklahoma once again. Jim Dykstra, number 78. Chris Rose, who was injured in the first half, back out there, number 62. And again, it's rejected. Now, Don, explain this to me. Wouldn't you want to push them back 15 yards more? I mean, 5 yards more so that it would be back at the 15?
I don't understand that, Ron. I think the smart thing would have been to take the 5-yard penalty.
Okay, 2nd and 12 now after a loss of 2 on the play. Elway on the rollout to the right, looking over the middle, throwing. Touchdown, Stanford. Andre Tyler. Andre Tyler working against Byron Paul. One-on-one, went to the corner of the end zone, and Elway just lofted it in.
John's got the defense so worried that he's going to run the ball now. John didn't throw a great ball. He just lofted it up there. And I tell you, I thought the defensive back could have knocked it down. Andre Tyler coming up with a great reception.
And 75,000 people are stunned. I mean, literally stunned, as Ken Neighbor kicks it through for the 24th point. So Stanford marches 80 yards on 9 plays, 2 minutes and 46 seconds on the drive. And with 12:14 to go in the third quarter, the Cardinals are leading 24-0. Scoring drive of 80 yards, 9 plays, 2 minutes and 46 seconds, culminated by an Elway to Andre Tyler pass. Running up the middle is David Overstreet, but he runs right into Dave Morsey after a pickup of 4, possibly 5 yards. And again, Don, I'm a little bit surprised because in the first half, as you take a look at the stats showing how the drive ended, Tyler 12-yard pass from Elway. I'm surprised that Oklahoma hasn't gone more to the outside. Pickup of 5, 2nd and 5 from the Oklahoma 20. Wilson in motion. Watts keeps the ball. Watts across the 30. Watts across. Fumble!
Do you believe this?
Dave Morsey. And Stanford has recovered.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Ron, you know, Paul Wiggin, we all know, was a great football player. Paul Wiggins is coaching well, but Paul Wiggin has turned into a cheerleader down at the sideline. That was a fine run, by the way, by J.C. Watts there.
But that's what cost him right there as he carries the ball out away from his body.
It looked like he was trying to switch the ball to his opposite hand, and I think he caught it right in between. Gee, he had an opportunity to get the ball back.
6 plays and a pass interference call move the ball down to the Oklahoma 15. Andre Tyler is the man split to the far side. Vincent White goes in motion. Brown has the ball. Brown bulldogging his way to the 10, inside the 10, down to the 9-yard line. Well, Jim Brown is back that he had last year, a foot injury that kept him almost inoperative most of last season. But against Oregon, he picked up a lot of the key first downs on 3rd and short. And here he's already had a couple of power drives. That time he picked up 6 yards and makes it 2nd and 4 at the Oklahoma 9. Stanford challenging again. Blitz is on. Andre Tyler had position on the man who was Daryl Songi, and he cut in front of him, but at the last minute it was tipped away.
Here John takes a step back, just lofts it up. Andre Tyler had his defensive man turned, and the ball just slipped through his hands.
Here would be another excellent opportunity to take a look at that bootleg, as they need 4 for the first down. They have to reach the 5-yard line. But from the shotgun, Elway will operate, splitting Donner, and now putting him in motion. Throwing across the middle, touchdown. It went right through Mike Coast's hands and into Tyler's. Well, if there was ever a team that was destined, it's got to be Stanford this day. Watch this pass.
That's so true, Ron. When everything goes for you, even interceptions go for you. That was an interception all the way. Mike Coast had an opportunity to pick it off, and I'll tell you, Andre Tyler was as surprised as anybody to catch that one.
But again, credit Elway because of the zip that he put on the ball and went right through Coast's hand. He never had a chance. Ken Neighbor will try to make it a 31-0 ball game, and does. Ken Neighbor, the all-time leading scorer in Stanford history. So with 7:58 to go in the third quarter, it's Stanford 31, Oklahoma nothing. The Stanford defense held the Sooners again, but a penalty on the punt gave Oklahoma new life. Stanford has only given up 1 big play. Now he puts Winters into the slot and drops straight back, throwing across the center. He's got his man. It's going to be down to the 1-yard line, Bobby Grayson. Bobby Grayson took the ball on a crossing pattern at the 5 between 2 Stanford defenders. As we watch it again.
Here you see Watts dropping back to pass. I tell you, he's going to have to do this, and he's going to have to do it frequently. He hits his receiver right between the linebacker and the safety. There's a nice soft zone right there.
Jervis finally made the stop, but it's goal to go at the 1. And it's, let's say, not going in is Chet Winters, but diving close to the goal line. So the Stanford defense, which has shut out Oklahoma for a half plus almost 12.5 minutes, is being tested thoroughly now down at the 1-yard line. 2nd and goal to go, inside the 1 actually. Oklahoma needs a little more than a foot for the score. J.C. Watts keeps the ball, dives in for the touchdown. So a Stanford mistake with 12 men on the field costs them. Instead of taking over the ball, they give it back to Oklahoma. And the Sooners march down and score their first score of the afternoon with 3:15 to go as Watts goes over from the 1.
On the replay, Watts just follows his guard straight over, nothing fancy. That's really a shame, Ron. They did such a fine job of holding Oklahoma's offense, and just that one costly penalty.
Oklahoma will try the 2-point conversion here. I think more for morale than anything else. Watts is rolling, throwing, the man is clear, and it's good to number 82, Valora. Now we'll have to see what the Stanford offense can do, whether that has fired up the Sooners or not. 3:15 to go in the 3rd quarter, and Stanford leads now 31-8. From their 14, but a mistake and a turnover gave Oklahoma another opportunity. Jim Brown, fumble. Oklahoma has it. Steve Horth picks up the ball that Jim Brown fumbled at the Oklahoma 48.
You see the give to Jim Brown. Looked like the ball was just stripped out of Jim's hand.
I don't know. I think he just dropped the ball. He had already been hit.
Maybe.
So the Stanford defense is going to be called on again after the Jim Brown fumble gives Oklahoma the ball at their own 48-yard line. Again, it must be remembered that Oklahoma scored 22 points in their opener against Kentucky. Watts is going to put the ball up. He's throwing long. He has a man open, and it's complete. David Overstreet inside the Stanford 15 at the 13.
Watts doing a fine job of faking, dropping back. He threw the ball, I think, as far as he could throw it, and it was a beautifully thrown ball.
Good catch. Mike Taylor was the man who was covering. So quite quickly, Oklahoma is coming back. First and 10 from the Stanford 13. A pitch out going to number 22 Overstreet. He's got a clear lane and is knocked out of bounds at the Stanford 3. Don Key was the man who threw the key block. And the Oklahoma fans have come to life here. 75,000 started the day.
As you can see, Oklahoma is just coming off the ball. Their guards are getting out there and pulling. Overstreet making a nice run.
Ball situated between the 3 and 4 yard lines. This is Watts keeping it, pitching it out, and it's fumbled out of bounds. Now we're waiting for the officials. It is a touchback. Touchback. He did not have control of it, and so Stanford will get a touchback. If he had had control when he went across the goal line, it would have been a touchdown, Oklahoma. But because he did not have control of it, he took the pitch at the 1 and never had control of it. It's going to be Stanford ball and brought out to the 20-yard line. Let's watch it again.
Here you see the fake from Watts getting outside. I'm sure if he had turned it up and pitched it back just a little sooner, he would have gotten the ball back.
You can see Chet Winters doesn't have control of the ball.
That's right. It wasn't a bad pitch, although.
Oklahoma scored again to cut it to 31-14, but the Stanford defense held the Sooners the rest of the way. Back goes Watts to pass, throwing long. Intercepted by Rick Jervis. Jervis at midfield, 40-yard line, going down the right side to the 30. He'll go all the way. Touchdown, Stanford. Penalty flag. penalty flag, and we're going to have to wait and see. Initial indication is against Stanford.
I'm not sure. I think Watts might have thought his receiver was going to break out. Instead, he ran a post pattern towards the inside of the field, and Jervis was standing there by himself. I didn't see the penalty, Ron. I don't know what it was.
Tripping against Stanford. Stanford will still get control of the ball, though. Two wide receivers, and Steve Rhodes and Bobby Grayson now. Watts is going to be sacked. Watts is going to be sacked at the 6-yard line. And it's a good thing that the officials called it there, because if they hadn't have called it there, he would have been sacked in the end zone for a safety. Good pressure that time from the defensive front of Stanford. Craig Aubrey, Duker Dapper, Doug Rogers. Watch it again.
You know, I can't say enough about that front line. Duker Dapper, Doug Rogers, Craig Aubrey. They've just had an outstanding game. Here you see the referee looked like he was going to strip him of the ball.
Pitch out to the outside goes to George Rhymes, the freshman, and he gets over the 10-yard line.
Well, you don't think J.C. Watts is going to be sore tomorrow? He's getting pounded every time he pitches that ball.
Kevin Baird and Tom Hall on the stop. Inside 4 minutes now for Stanford, leading by 17. The Cardinals with one timeout left, Oklahoma with a pair. Grayson and Rhodes are the wide receivers. Back goes Watts. Has time. He throws this other way, and it goes through the hands, and it'll be incomplete. Overthrown, but intended for number 24, Steve Rhodes. And now the Oklahoma fans take a look at what you're seeing, and are practically giving up the ghost as they head for the exits, saying, what the heck happened? We were favored by 15, and Stanford has come in and blown our socks off. We move into the final 11 seconds of the ball game. This will be the last play. Stanford will wrap up their third win and get ready for San Jose State next week as they just grind it out over the left side, and that'll do it. 4, 3, 2, 1, and the Cardinals win. Paul Wiggin has scored his biggest win in his head college coaching career as the Stanford Cardinals have upset and soundly beaten third-ranked Oklahoma 31-14. For Don Bunce, I'm Ron Barr. We'll be back with our special post-game guests in just a moment. With Stanford upsetting third-ranked Oklahoma 31-14, and they did it with a great team effort. First of all, on offense, Vince White. Vincent, Darren didn't play, and I'm wondering what type of attitude you took into this ball game. You've been seeing a lot of bench time, and I said to you last week, wait, and it'll come.
Well, when I found out, I didn't find out till the last minute when Coach Green came to me and said, Vincent, you're going to start like that. So I just said, I buttoned it up. I went over there and said, we're going to get this one for you like that. And we just went out.
You were really effective running. Why were you able to, you broke a couple of big ones?
Well, the footing was kind of bad, and I stayed low to the ground, which is already like that. So they were kind of sliding a little bit, and I was able to keep my bounce a little bit more.
One thing about Vincent White, if you're a lineman, say 6'5", and you try to catch a guy who's like Vince, about 5'10", when he bends his head, you see he goes down to 4'2", and he's very tough to bring down that way. Doug Rogers, the defense, did a great job, and you went over to Coach Switzer afterwards. And defensively, you guys had something to prove, I think, after Boston College last week.
We did. Last week we had a reading defense, and we just weren't very effective. This week we changed the whole defense to more of an attack, take care of the line, and we did. We came out the first 2-3 series, stuck them up, and they couldn't move on us. They couldn't run up the middle. They had to go outside.
And you had a great game, on part of the defense. Let me bring in number 25, because, Andre, you caught a ball that went right through a defender's hand, and I think that almost indicated the kind of day it was going to be for Stanford, wasn't it?
I tell you it was. You know, I'm sitting. I should have ran the pound a little bit deeper so Johnny could just lob it over. No one was sticking me. I just got excited, and as soon as I crossed the goal line, just turned around. Johnny threw the ball and went right through his hands. Right.
Let me also give credit to a great quarterback in John Elway. Elway not only passed, but he also ran well today. A great Stanford effort as they win at 31-14. We're all coming home to take on San Jose State. And we want to invite you to join us next week for Stanford Football 1980. I'm Ron Barr. For Don Bunce, join us next week.
Yeah!
From Stanford Stadium in Palo Alto, California, it's Stanford football. Today, the Stanford Cardinals take on the San Jose State Spartans. Hello, everyone. I'm Ron Barr, and after